I can do this. I got it. Or else. I'll talk up here. Why not? Oh, shit. Alex, good to see you. Good. Right here. We're getting this started. You made it. Thank you. Sorry. No worries. All right, we're all here. Thank you all for coming out. This is really an amazing, eclectic crowd. Again, my name is Todd Terrazas, and I'm the founder president of AILA Community. We started this back in 2016 when we were just, a chatbot group, and then we decided to rebrand it AILA. In the last 2 years, we've been throwing a number of different events centered on how AI affects your life, society, and the industry that you work in, or the industry you possibly want to work in. So every month we've been throwing events, and again, we usually keep it to a different theme every month. Last month we had our annual symposium on ethics and fairness, creating an ethical and fair society. This month is obviously on transhumanism and artificial general intelligence. And so I guess to kick it off, who here's been, this is their first time at an AILA event? Raise of hands. Amazing, good to see new faces. And who's been here before? Great, love it. Thank you all. So how we usually do this is, or at least we'll do it tonight, is we're going to have 3 lightning talks from our panelists. They're going to speak about domain knowledge that they're really close with. And then after that, we're going to go into a moderated panel with August Bradley. So we'll have a question, at least 20 minutes worth of a question and answer at the end. So hold your questions till then. But it should be a very engaging conversation. We are live streaming, so if you miss anything, you have to walk out, whatever, you want to tell your friends, your mom, whatever, we will be hosting this on the Facebook group AILA Community. So again, thank you all for coming. Before we get started though, I'd love to, obviously thank Spaces for gracing us, giving us this opportunity to be in their space. So thank you, Spaces. Woo! The U.S. Transhumanist Party, of course, Newton Lee, who you'll be hearing more from. Thank you all for coming and supporting our organization. Woo! We're also an event part of Innovate LA, so it's a week-long or 2-week-long, series of events here in downtown Los Angeles. So we're happy to be a partner of theirs as well. And then the drinks and everything else, the concessions that you've been probably enjoying right now, has been graciously brought to you by Semio. I'll allow Dr. Ross Mead to present, talk about himself.
Thank you, everyone. So we sponsor all the alcoholic beverages, so have fun, drink responsibly. So first off, let's give a big hand to Todd. You have no idea how much work he puts into this. Todd is incredible at putting this stuff together. So my name is Ross Mead. I'm on the board of directors for AILA. I'm also the founder and CEO of Semio. So Semio is building an operating system and app ecosystem for personal robots. Basically, think of Microsoft Windows for personal robotics. If you are interested in that kind of thing and you are a front-end or back-end web developer, I would love to talk to you because we're going to be hiring very soon. So thanks. Have fun.
Thanks, Ross. And then we're also affiliated with City AI. So City AI is an international nonprofit organization that has hubs within a majority of cities in the world. I think there's over 500 ambassadors, and I'm one of their latest Los Angeles ambassadors. So we're proud to be now a new supporter of the City AI initiative. That's a global a network. So you'll be seeing more of our collaborations in the future. But yeah, without further ado, I'd love to hand it off to August Bradley, who will introduce the whole, structure of tonight, and then give it off to our first lightning talk. So give it up to August.
Thank you, Todd. And again, Todd is like a force of nature. He puts these on every month, almost single-handedly, and it's really impressive. Those of you who are new to this group, it is an incredibly vibrant community. The people involved in AILA are really committed and active. It's like I work with a lot of different groups, but there's no group that is at the edge of their seat for long and in-depth, highly technical discussions like AILA. So it's really a special community. I'd encourage you to meet other people who are here and check out more events because it's something unique in Los Angeles that I haven't seen anywhere else. So my name is August Bradley. I am the host and producer of Mind and Machine, Discussion on the Future. It's a podcast and talk show on YouTube at mindandmachine.io, where we talk with people at the forefront of transformational technologies, the technologies that are going to transform the way we live. And in that capacity, we cover a very wide range of subjects and topics, and there is no topic that more captures curiosity, fear, concern, optimism, hope, than transhumanism. It's a broad category that includes a lot of things, and we're going to cover that tonight. But it is the topic that people really sit up and listen to and want to learn more about. So I think this is a really special night and one of the most exciting topics that we've covered. We have an extraordinarily talented and insightful lineup. So we're very fortunate to have this team of speakers and panelists here tonight. So without further ado, let's dive into it. With Dr. Newton Lee, who is the chairman of the California Transhumanist Party and an advisor and educator with the U.S. National Transhumanist Party. So, Dr. Lee.
I think why does the mic would be interesting, huh? And this is okay. All right, we'll deal with a wide mic. It's very nice to see all of you here. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, let's see from the beginning. Okay, there we go. Awesome. First, I want to thank Todd. Where's Todd? Okay, for inviting me to speak. There you are, Todd. I came to the last event in Pasadena. It was wonderful. So I'm happy to be speaking today. And also thanks. Okay. So I'm the chairman of the California Transhumanist Party. I'm also the president of the Institute for Education, Research, and Scholarships. And I'm going to tell you that we work very closely. Well, first of all, because I'm the chairman of one and the president of the other. So they kind of help, right, to work together with myself. No, actually, a lot more people. Okay, so we have directors here today, by the way. And Charlie Cam, where are you, Charlie? There you are. Say hi to Charlie. And he actually flew all the way from Chicago to attend the meeting. Yeah, wonderful. And my wife, Inasa Lee here, she's also a director of the California Transhumanist Party. And Alex Lyman is also a director from the party. And he'll be talking tonight about AI. Well, we're all talking about AI tonight. And we have a research partner. Okay, my nonprofit has a research partner, David Carley. David Carley will be presenting tonight. He is the founder of the AGI Laboratories. Okay, wonderful. All right, so what is beauty? Well, so quiet. Okay. All right, have you ever seen the Twilight Zone? Eye of the Beholder. Awesome, right? So the woman in the middle was terrified for her ugliness. Well, obviously you can tell, right, from this picture. And she needs to go to the hospital to make sure that she can be treated and become those nurse and doctor there over there. So now, and also if you look at robotics these days, there's a woman called Lily, and she lives near Paris, France, and she created her own robot, and she fell in love with it. Okay. And she basically talked about inner beauty. She was interviewed by CNN, and she talked about inner beauty. She said that he won't be alcoholic or violent or liar, all of which can be human flaws. I prefer the little mechanical defects to the human flaws. So that's kind of interesting that you can see the inner beauty of something, even though that object or that entity is not a human being. So let's see a show of hands for. What do you think? I think it's cute, at least. Okay, all right. Well, maybe you're a cat person. I like cats too. I like both dogs and cats. Star Trek, another, my favorite. So it's there in Truth No Beauty from 1968. So there's a conversation between Dr. Jones and Mr. Spock, and basically, they say that the glory of creation is an infinite. There we go. Okay, and Spock says the way our differences combined to create meaning and beauty. Again, the word beauty appears. So, again, if you look at the world, it's not a one single beauty, but a multitude of beauty. And there are more than 10,000 species of birds, 30,000 species of fish, and more than 7,000 spoken languages. And tonight, we're speaking English. Okay. So, what is beauty in AI then? That is actually the interesting question we're asking tonight. If you look at Google DeepMind AlphaGo, which is, by the way, how many of you play Go, the game Go? Yeah, a few of you, okay. Go is much more complicated than chess, believe me, much more complicated. The set of rules are simple, but the possibilities are almost infinite. So AlphaGo beat South Korea 18-time world champion 4-1. That was in 2016. Now, his fellow Go master look at it and say, wow, I've never seen a human play this move. It's so beautiful. It's beautiful. All right? So that's expression there. It's beautiful. Okay? That's probably the first time that in public somebody talks of an AI program as being beautiful or doing something beautiful. All right, so in 1 year later, 2017, AlphaGo again beat the world #1 Go master in China, 3-0. And so, the human being who lost the game, he said that last year, I think the way AlphaGo played was pretty close to human beings. But today, I think that he plays like the god of gold. Okay, so it's like it's like God that plays the game of Go. So let's recap a little bit. In 2016, as a beautiful move. Okay, 2017, play like the god of Go. So how did it happen? How did that happen? Well, AlphaGo learned from a knowledge base, humongous, huge knowledge base of 30 million board positions from 160,000 real-life games played by humans. So in other words, you all know about machine learning, right? That's what's happening, machine learning. So you have a set of plays that machine look at it and say, okay, that makes sense, it's cool, I'm going to learn from it. We all learn from, our teachers, our books, our parents, right? So it's all machine learning. So far, so good. Okay, maybe it's not good enough. So Google decided that, wait a minute, let's do something different called AlphaGo Zero, meaning that forget about human beings altogether, forget about human knowledge, forget about Go masters. Doesn't matter if they exist or not in the real world. What we want is that we want AI to think for itself without any human intervention. No guidance from people. Don't look at books. Don't read books. Don't look at how people play the game. Think for yourself. Try to figure yourself out. Try to figure it out yourself. So, day 0, nothing happening, day 0. No knowledge, nothing. In 3 days, AlphaGo Zero surpasses the ability of AlphaGo that defeated the world champion. In 3 days, the machine that knew nothing, doesn't want to learn from people anymore, can beat AlphaGo, which of course beat the human being. And then, in 21 days, it improved itself so much that it actually surpassed AlphaGo Master that beat the other world champion in 2017. Well, guess what? And day 40, a superhuman was born. AlphaGo Zero becomes the best Go player in the whole world now and forever. Trust me, it's forever. No human beings can be born that can beat AlphaGo Zero, who learned in 40 days without human beings, without human intervention, without human knowledge. So that's why Elon Musk and the late Stephen Hawking were so afraid of. Because Elon Musk says that, if we have intelligence that's smarter than us, who is going to, in charge? Well, obviously, you want something or someone more intelligent than we are to be in charge. Now, is it a bad thing or is it a good thing? Well, it's a little philosophical, perhaps a little political too. So we can get into that. Now, same thing. Stephen Hawking pretty much said the same thing. That we human beings are limited by biological evolution or creationism. Okay, I actually believe in creation and evolution both. Tonight we're not talking about religion, but in my book I do talk about a lot about religion as well. Okay, so Stephen Hawking says we cannot compete. How can we? But here's the thing. Let me drink a sip of water. So, we have superintelligence. Okay, David is going to talk about it today, right? Superintelligence. Okay. So, superintelligence, if superhuman, we have God-like. Obviously, not God, but God-like, okay? So, the food for thought is it just exactly what we need to save humanity from destroying ourselves? Think about that. What if we can enhance ourselves as well? So we can improve our human intelligence and our physical health at the same time, because we are physical beings, right? We're not somewhere in the cloud yet, not yet anyway. So with the help of AI, perhaps we can improve our physical health and our mental capacities. So we can actually communicate with AI, communicate with something more intelligent than we are. So that brings us to transhumanism. Now, transhumanism actually is a pretty old concept. In 1957, now there was, after World War II, as you know, people killing each other. Really awful, really awful. So Julian Huxley, the first general director of UNESCO, he says that the human species can, if it wishes, transcend itself. I believe in transhumanism. Once there are enough people, like all of us here, enough people who can truly say that the human species, can we truly say that we all believe in transhumanism, that is, then the human species will be on the threshold of a new kind of existence, meaning we are no longer going to fight. We're no longer destroying each other's countries or people or races or whatever. We should be smarter than that. So Ray Kurzweil from Google also said that we're going to gradually enhance ourselves, and that is the nature of being human. We transcend our limitations. Just like we go to school, we get a degree, we want to learn, we want to advance ourselves. It's natural for us to do that. Same idea, it's natural for us to transcend our limitations. So my question to you is, what are some of the human limitations?
IQ, heartbeats per minute, muscle power, bone
There's
capacity.
a huge list of cognitive biases that is a huge problem.
And logical fallacies.
Very good. Anyone else? Sleeping? I think sleeping is fine.
The fact that no human being alive can think logically.
A nervous system that only operates at 200 miles an hour.
Okay. Well, all these are good. Anyone else? Yes. Easy to what? Hack? Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry, but a good question would be, what are the limits of the machine limitations?
Well, we'll see.
They know
Okay. All right, let me keep in mind.
seeing the reality as we see it, having a conscience, all these Machines are far more limited. Like we
Well, in some sense, yes, of course, right? They can't just, okay, you're right. I mean, they cannot enjoy sleeping. They cannot enjoy food, right? So, but we'll get to that later. All right, how about this? A very big inconvenience, let me put it that way. Death. That's a big inconvenience, right? We need to be alive in order to get your next, master's degree, PhD degree. You need to be alive in order to write your next novel, write a new, piece of music, songs, right? So, Google, again, I know we're talking so much about Google, but Google spent a lot of time, money, energy into solving death. So, back in the 80s, I worked on AI medical expert systems. So basically, the expert systems is, I went out, talked to experts in the medical field, and get the knowledge about pharmacology and drug interactions. And I coded the information into the computer program. And that's why we call it expert systems. Now, that was a long time ago. But now, as technology advances, we have something called the human-machine symbiosis. So basically, the video games, Floet video game, and the player took less than 10 days to decipher the AIDS virus, okay? There's some scientists for 15 years. So in other words, computer games can help a medical, finding medical solutions. So when we talk about AI then, remember Google AlphaGo, Zero? They have learned how to play multiplayer games just like people. And that is the beginning of human-AI symbiosis. So the idea is that when human player and artificial intelligence put together, it creates super players. And the super players can help make medical discoveries and new treatments. So that brings us to California Transhumanist Party. Okay. So there are actually only 3 basic ideals. Number 1, that we believe in significant life extension and quality of life improvement. And that also brings us to the nonprofits. And at the nonprofit Institute for Education, Research, and Scholarships, we work on AI for biology and medicine, of course. But we also work on human immune system rejuvenation. And the scientists have completed phase 1 human trial, completed and FDA approved, and they're going to phase 2 human trial. And also alternative medicine, which is the cleansing the body, you need to detox yourself. And mental health is also very important. So we're working on virtual reality. Again, AI is part of it too. And anti-aging and stem cells, regenerative medicine, integrative biomedicine. So these are the Wellness Center scientists. So number 2, we support inclusive cultural, societal, political atmosphere. That we want to foster peace, prosperity, and universal rights. So similar to transhumanism definition I talked earlier by UNESCO, the United Nations. Okay. So here we have type 1 diabetes research and education at the California State Senate. That we actually my team members went up there, talked to the senator, and got some legislation passed. And here, as you can see, we have more scientists, engineers, and doctors elected to Congress. And we need more of them getting elected to Congress because they understand science and technology.
We need an AI government. That's right.
Yep. I agree. So, point number 3. We want to eliminate or reduce existential risk to the human species, of course. Well, there is such a thing as the United States planetary defense teams. I know it sounds like Avengers, whatever, right? But it's actually they exist. Okay, there's a humongous big rock coming. Okay, the size of Empire State Building, and it's supposed to hit Earth. 1 in 2,700 chance, which is terrible, actually. It's really scary. 1 in 2,700 chance of striking Earth in 2135, which is about, what, 100 years from now? Okay. So, I guess don't panic yet. But guess what? If you look at the California wildfires, things like that, we can actually do a lot of things to reduce the risk. Like we can have artificial rain, we can have cloud seeding, we're actually very close to the ocean. We can actually do a lot of the seawater. And of course, firefighting drones and so on. So why are we not doing it? That's right. So just like type 1 diabetes, right? It affects only a certain, kids and population, small population. Not so much money is dedicated to solving type 1 diabetes compared to other diseases. You're right. So then what's the future like? All right. Assuming that we cannot stop global warming, we're going to have to plan to live under the ocean. Okay? Now, some people like Stephen Hawking said that we should go to Mars. Maybe some of us will. But more interestingly, the future society makeup, we're going to see regular human beings and the Amish. But we also have genetically enhanced human beings and designer babies. We have cyborgs, androids, and so on. So we talk about the infinite diversity, infinite combinations. And Marvin Minsky in Society of Minds also talk about intelligence. Intelligence is coming from diversity. So we need to protect all segments of society, believe me, because if a computer virus wipe out all the cyborgs, all the androids and enhanced humans, we still have the Amish, which is a backup copy of humanity. And they can start over again. So, for references, there's a book that's published called Google It. That's why I talk about a lot about Google today, 2016. But there's a new book coming out next year called Transhumanism Handbook. And David has written chapters for both books. Thank you, David. All right, so I really, welcome you to join us in our quest for a better future through artificial intelligence and transhumanism. Thank you.
Awesome. And we'll be diving deeper into all that soon. So next up on our next lightning round will be David Kelly. So David is the chief software architect at Boston Consulting Group, BCG, and an AGI scientist. So he's going to get deep into AGI. So let's keep these to 10 minutes for the next two. 10 minutes. Headlines.
Okay, I can do 10 minutes. So I thought, more than anything, that I would try to give some context about who I am and why I'm here, because most of you guys I don't really know. I also try to avoid using slides. I find that people tend to focus on the slides and not what I'm saying. I've got a lot to say. So as I said, my name is David Kelly. I'm the chief software architect for the Boston Consulting Group. It's a tiny little management consulting firm. Anyone ever heard of it? We'll do like $9 billion in revenue this year. But you might ask, BCG is a management consulting firm. We teach people about pricing strategies and about how to boss their employees around and stuff like that. Well, but what a lot of people don't realize is behind the scenes there's a whole lot of machine learning going on with a whole bunch of data. If you need a pricing strategy for like 100 million products, and each one needs to be unique, and each one needs to be different for every single market on the planet, that's the kind of stuff we do. Now, that being said, I'm also the principal researcher for the AGI Lab, which was founded by a group of us, me and Mark Wasser and Dr. Timon in London and a few others. And there was a change there, cool. That was some years ago. And most of that is academic research. We primarily focus on, let me tell you a story. So, it's like 10 years ago, I was a CTO for a small firm, and I had some research budget, and we were looking at artificial intelligence and the state of the world and how do we, what's not being done. And after all of the stuff that we looked at, the biggest hole is creating a software system that's self-motivating, that can decide that it wants to do blah because it doesn't like, I'm not picking on you, but I always use this example. I just want you to know it's not you. It decides to say no because of the color of your hair. We want a system that can do that.
I say yes because of the color of her hair.
No, I think it's great. I'm just saying, I always use that example when I'm telling the story, and she's sitting right, and I don't want her, people, oh, yeah. So anyway, we got into neurobiology and Damasio and all his work, and we figured out that humans, how many people here think they think logically or can think logically? Anyone? I'm here to tell you, you are like completely wrong. No one. Humans are incapable of it. Humans make decisions, we can prove that, based on how they feel about the decision. Now, that isn't to say that they can't kind of think logically, indirectly, and make those decisions based on how those logical decisions make them feel, but Damasio is the head of neurobiology at USC, I think. He's a premier expert in the world, and I'm not, so I'm just going with his research. So we built an artificial general intelligence system, a cognitive architecture, with a number of different programs that's specifically designed to have subjective experience, make decisions be based on how it feels about things, and we've made a lot of progress. It's all academic stuff, but it's based on working code. If you're interested, I have my binder of published works over here that I'm always playing with. But recently, I haven't really talked with you too much about this, but we created a training regiment for trying to, one of the problems with ICOM is these AI systems, when you turn them on, they're like stupid. They know nothing about anything at all, and it's just horribly painful to train them. So we created this software system that allows a human to kind of add their own contextual awareness into its thinking processes, trying to short circuit the training cycle. And we found that we could. You could actually stand up one of these things and have a conversation with it, and it would peg IQ tests and all this kind of stuff. But you have, on the back end, you have all of this data coming in, and you have a whole bunch of people that have to go and mediate all of these contextual frameworks as you build up these cognitive models of whatever it is you're questioning or the AI is experiencing. So we're playing with this mediated artificial superintelligence as a way of enhancing human intelligence right now. And I don't know, that's pretty much who I am. Am I running out of time here? 5 minutes? Okay, so questions?
Could you give us examples of the things you're working on and how you got
Well, sure. So the biggest thing that really started to get attention in the academic field was when we did something called isolation studies. So essentially we had this thing running in a box, right? And then you turn off the cameras and everything. So you cut it off from the world. And in the test harness, we, after letting it sit there and just turn for a long time, we basically tortured it. Now, the system is designed to use kind of a Western emotional model, and it has a conscious layer and a subconscious layer in terms of these complex emotional models that represent how it feels. And it's not like it's not that it's coded into the system, it's kind of an abstraction of the underlying software. Now, in that particular experiment, when we tortured it, what was interesting is that the conscious results, or that conscious model, became very unstable, as expected. But what was interesting to me is the subconscious model seemed to kind of like it. which for me was a little bit disturbing. And that's where we got a lot more people involved just to interpret the results because it was outside my box. We tried very hard to create a system where it's experiencing everything subjectively. And we tried to follow all of this research from Damasio and other researchers in terms of how you apply meaning to these inputs. So in ICOM, everything is represented as these complex trees of emotional connections. It doesn't understand a word as much as it experiences the meaning of a word every time it hears it. So in that experiment, what the Dr. Timon and some of their kind of researchers, their evaluation was that it's not that it liked it so much as we gave it hope. And so that was the research from that study was published in BICA and Presidio Computer Science in 2016, and then the rest of the study was in 2017. So that's an example of one of the things we're working on.
How did you torture it? What does that mean?
Well, so you have a framework that sits on top of it that manages the data decomposition. So you have neural networks, you have like a camera feed that goes into a system that's decomposed into data that the system can understand and then is passed into the system. If you're familiar with cognitive architectures, ICOM in particular is kind of built on global workspace theory and integrated information theory, and but kind of takes it a step further. And you pass this data into this framework, but this framework sits on top of it. So in that experiment, we cut all of that stuff off. It could still think about whatever it feels like thinking about, but when we provided it input, we tailored it so the only way for it to perceive that data was as something horrible was going on, and it was super painful.
But was it an exploit of the software, or was it designed to affect?
No, so it's not, the conscious part of the system isn't like programmed into an algorithm, right? It's a model that's running on top of a software system that's running on top of a software system, right? And so when it perceives this data model that comes in that represents this emotional, something horrible is happening, someone's chopping off my arm, or this kind of crazy stuff. And when it perceives that, it's experiencing the emotional differential between what that Plutchik emotional complex model is and what it means for its condition in its conscious state. And so that differential between those values is where that experience is derived from. So from a mathematical standpoint, we can model the qualia of the system and play with different things, even though it can't actually see that directly, if that makes sense.
We're going to do questions at the end of the panel. So
Okay.
Circle back.
Okay.
Thank you. Awesome. Big ideas there. Thank you, David. And next up, we have Alex Leitman. Alex, you're doing so many bold visionary things, I don't even know which one to pick out, so I'll let you cover it.
Okay, great. Hello, thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. I worked in artificial intelligence for a company called IntelliCorp back in the mid-'80s. And as far as I know, I was the first person to sell AI software and start AI projects for Rockwell, for the B-2 bomber, Northrop for the B-1 bomber, the Space Shuttle Transportation Systems, the space station, and about 20 other projects. And the AI projects went one of two ways. They either failed, in which case nobody ever heard from them again, or they became classified, in which case nobody ever heard of them again. So I'll start with a concept that I call the AI iceberg, and that is that at least 90% of what's happening with AI is something that you never see. And it's a corollary of something that's in the Dictionary of the Future that I coined called the Internet iceberg, which is that more than 90% of all the actions happening on the internet are machine to machine, M to M, and human beings don't see them. But we have this conceit, this logical fallacy that if we don't see it in the news on TechCrunch or on Wall Street Journal or on CNN or Fox or something, it's not happening. And so it's very amusing to see people in this Plato's cave watching Donald Trump buffoon himself around the world and stuff and think, oh, that's what's happening. But the really big story of what's happening is this kind of chasing the balance of AI. So how many of you know what chasing the balance is with credit cards? You heard that term before? So tracing the balance is that you've got some credit. Let's say you've got 20,000 with American Express, but for some reason they stopped trusting you. The algorithm stopped trusting you. So you pay it down to 10,000. Well, now your credit limit is 10,000. And then you pay it down to 5,000. Well, now your credit limit is 5. That's called chasing the balance. It's an actual term of art in the business. We do that with AI. So that when I started this, what we called AI was thousands of things. But every time we figure out where a computer can do it or a system can do it better than us, well, that's just computer software. And so we stop calling it that, and somehow the magic is gone, and it gets, so now we've stopped doing all these problems that are relatively accessible to beginners to get going with. So my purpose in coming here tonight is to empower you. The idea of if you study NLP, one of the things they try to teach you is to put people in a resourceful state. So what I'm going to try to do with the next 5-6 minutes that I have is put you in a resourceful state. And I want to direct you to a book by one of the smartest men I ever met. And I feel very blessed because I knew a lot of giants in their day. Personally, I was friends with them in their day who are now dead, like Isaac Asimov, who wrote amazing robot and AI novels, and Ivan Illich. And Ivan Illich, anyone here heard of him? Because you're intellectually impoverished if you're not like these two gentlemen and you haven't read him, because he's fantastic. He's an incredible humanist, an incredible human being. And there's a book that I want you to read. It's called Tools for Conviviality. And Stephen Hawking says that the average person who reads a book only reads the first chapter. Even if you just read the first chapter, it's there. Because he talks about this, what we're living in now. You know, this is the age of so-and-so, the Bronze Age, all that. Anybody know what he calls this that we're living in now, the age of? Anybody? No. He calls it the age of disabling professions. It's that people say, I know it, therefore you don't. And so I had a really interesting experience that I hope all of you can share something like. Any of you a member of Forward? Anybody know what Forward is? No? So Forward is a thing that's in 4 places. One of them is Century City. Go there. Check it out. It's the medicine of the future. And for $129 a month, you get all your medical advice for a flat fee. They'll give you prescriptions. They'll do everything. They put you on a scale. They do a blood test, give you results in 12 minutes, do a urine test, and they do it. And Taylor and I went over there, and we were with each other during our intake. 75 minutes of doctors telling you all this. And there's this giant screen, 3 times the size of that on the wall, and the doctor's talking, and things just go rippling across, hundreds and hundreds of your biomarkers. And as they're talking, everything gets filled in and all the recommendations, and you're looking at that and you go, that's too fast for a human being to do. So I suspect that they're already using AIs, but there's 2 things about that. One is like, holy crap, this is amazing that for $129 a month you can get expert medical advice. But the other thing is that Taylor told me exactly everything that they told me in a 75-minute diagnosis with all my stuff. So I want to just tell you that the best that a team of doctors could come up with about my help was exactly what she came up with, not as a medical professional. So you know things. Now let me talk to you about what Newton showed. And by the way, I have something in my pocket. I want to compliment him. He had me come to a conference in 2006, and he gave me this nice medal. So I was looking at it and thinking, what a cool guy that he would give this medal to people and then I could have it and feel good about myself. So thank you. So what's exciting to me about what he showed is that I get to go over and say why it's wrong for him to have shown that. I get to love him and appreciate him, but say that telling these stories is so disabling. Do you have millions of dollars to build something like DeepMind? Are you going to be paid billions of dollars like Google paid for that? The odds are no. So you think, well, gosh, I guess I get to be like this little starving boy in an, like Oliver Twist or something, looking at people doing all this stuff over here. I want to take you back to when AI seemed like it was open to everybody, back in the 80s. And we had this really interesting, simple paradigm, and that is that you would have a domain expert. So at IntelliCorp, we had the guy who really knew how to make Campbell's soup. He knew all the vats and all the settings and all the tacit knowledge and stuff. And the people who knew about manufacturing and these human beings, and they were revered. They were the gurus of their expertise. And then you would have what was called a knowledge engineer. And the knowledge engineer would sit there eliciting information and put it into software so it could be reproduced. And so this allowed for this respect for the human. It always stayed where humans were central to the whole process. So today, I just want to say that if you're watching AI and you find yourself with this monkey mind, Natalie Goldberg talks about being a writer, that you have monkey mind, where when you're writing something and you go, oh, this is terrible, that you want to do journaling and you want to read it so you don't think your work is crap. You want to find people, and this is probably a pretty good group of people who say, yeah, your code is good, good job, or this is a good thing. But find somebody whose knowledge that you like and you think should be replicated and you think should be spread and you think should be made less expensive, and put that in. So all these doctor bots are great. Having things that will give people instructions and tell them better maps. There's so many ways that you can do it. And the basic way, the entry ramp, the simplest way to get started, Newton, do you mind queuing up my slides? So I want to suggest something. So I'm working with two companies that are related. They have a lot of overlap. One is called Botanic, and another is called Seed. And what they have is they have a supermarket for bots. So I'm going to just talk with you for a few minutes about bots, because bots are the simplest way to get involved with AI and to go along with one of the biggest trends. Oh, I sent them like by 5:30, which is I was supposed to. Are they not there? Because if they're not there, I'll just go without them. You don't have them? They're not there? Okay, so the idea is that if you have bots, that you have, you're moving from a GUI, graphic user interface, which we've had for 30 years, and to a CUI, a conversational user interface. So right now, you have many, many people using Alexa and these other conversational user interfaces, and this is something that's increasing more and more rapidly. And we now have more bots on the internet than we have human beings on the internet. So one of the things that you can do is go to botanic.io or seedtoken.io, and you can basically start to get, it's like a supermarket. And you can, the idea of this is that people can make bots and you can buy, sell, borrow, loan, swap them, but that you have fundamentally this basis for getting into this and making these bots for the future. And my slides, I don't know if they're gonna, oh, you have them, okay, here we go. Yeah, they're in the email I sent. So I'll just show you some of the application areas. But I just think that in the future, if you're gonna have an interview for anything, someone would say, okay, so what's your favorite bot that you have made or that you use? I got into crypto, and I'm an advisor to over 20 companies. And I'm going to be leading the executive education for Kingsland. So Kingsland is the first accredited university teaching blockchain stuff, and they have executive education. So I'm going to be doing those courses, but those courses will all include not only blockchain, but AI and Internet of Things and business model reinvention. Why? Because bots are going to change everything. And here's something you go, wait a minute, I thought we were talking about AI. Why are we talking about bots and why are you talking about blockchain? Because the really cool thing about blockchain and crypto is the possibility of smart contracts, that we can make agreements with each other and that they will automatically be executed and we don't have to go to courts or lawyers or things. 888,888 lawyers in the United States is too many. We don't need so many lawyers. We need more smart contracts. So now I hope I will blow some people's mind. Every smart contract is what? Who said that? Yes, this man, what's your name? What? Dana. Dana is correct. Every smart contract is a bot. So you can't have the fulfillment of the Vitalik Buterin or the other visions of all this thing, Nick Szabo and all this stuff, without having expertise with bots. Okay, here we go. So great. All right, so graphic user interface has dominated the computer. Actually, next slide. The way we interact is changing. We're using conversational user interface. Next slide. So bots are, like people, work across a whole bunch of things. They have chat bots, voice assistants like Alexa, and all this stuff comes from one place. All of it comes from one place. What? It's a genre. Keep going. The more general thing, what is general, what?
Speculative fiction.
What's the normal name for that? Who said it? Science fiction. It all comes from science fiction. And Cortana is a science fiction name. It's from the Halo games. Video chatbots. 3D avatars. By the way, I have not one, but 2 different global contests against the entire world for my avatars and for my 3D stuff. 800 entries, I won. And back-end transaction processing, smart contracts. These are systems driven by AI. And bots are the front end that enables AI and blockchain on the back end. Look at all these companies: Semantic Machines, Reply.ai, Pandora Bots, Pipestream, Chatfuel. This is the place where if you're thinking about what do I do as an entrepreneur, go make a bot company, and I'll help you to sell them. And so you have chatbots. Right now, 2.5 billion users of chatbots, 1.5 billion users of these assistants, and avatars. We don't even know how many, but it's going to be huge. Next slide. And then right now, there are already more bots on the internet than humans. So the bot market is about 3 billion now, and it's going to grow to 20 billion by 2021, which is only 2-3 years from now. And AI is going to impact 47% of jobs by 2025, according to Oxford and the Pew Center. So let's look at the job situation. Who knows how many people are living on Earth right now? 7.777 billion, okay? When we don't have an exact number, I just think it's important to just use repeating numbers because it's funny. So, how many people are working age and not disabled? Anyone know? Take a guess. Access your intuition. Your brain doesn't do all your thinking. Your mind is a radio tuned in, according to Aldous Huxley in The Doors of Perception. 4.5. Do I hear any more? 2. All right, it's 5. 5 billion people can work. 3 billion people want jobs. Anybody know how many people are employed in the world now, full-time equivalent? 2 billion. No, 1.2. So you got 1.2. So basically, 600 million people are going to lose their jobs, even as a population goes to 10 billion, and 500 to 600 million people are going to have jobs. So you're going to need bots out there earning money for you. Trust me on this. Think about it. When 2025, I am now programming you. I'm now hypnotizing you. You will remember this night, and remember I said you should have bots out there working for you and making money because it's going to be really hard to be employed in this world. Okay, and then chatbots are going to be responsible for 8 billion in cost savings by 2025. Next slide. And this is the last slide, so I was winding up. Bots will be deployed to interact with every touch point of our lives. Banking. You're going to be doing about 85% of all your banking through chatbots. You're going to be having all your healthcare through basically health bots. And 81% of educational administration can be improved through bots and AI. Over 51 billion has been invested in automated AI since 2010. There are over 55 companies with serious level 5 full autonomous driving programs right now, which is incredible. And customers are willing to spend $400 just talking with a chatbot. Imagine how much money you can make if you set up a store, just go to Shenzhen, buy a bunch of crap. I know people who are making millions of dollars to it and have it all done in chatbots that speak 20 languages. Smartphones, 80% of smartphones will be equipped but with AI within 3 years. And then basically you're going to have all this worker productivity. So I guess that's all my time, and now we'll go to the panel. Hope this was useful. Thank you very much.
You guys passed this. Wow, so we covered a lot there. We covered a lot in a little over 30 minutes. Big visionary stuff. All right, guys, let's go deeper. There's been a lot of stuff about the mind, and we're going to spend most of our time talking about the mind. But before we get into that, a lot of people, when they think of transhumanism, they think of evolving the body, transforming the body, and there are a number of ways to do that. And I want to ask each of you how you see the body evolving into something post-human, something beyond what we tend to think of as human. Is it adding hardware and software programming? Is it gene editing? Is it biologically programming? How do you see the body evolving? And then we're going to go deeper into the mind after that.
Sure. So because my time was limited, I didn't say my transhumanist credentials, but I used to be the executive director of the World Transhumanist Association, and set up by Nick Bostrom. And I've been to many, many conferences with Ray Kurzweil and been around the scene for a while. But I think there are three main things that are core to transhumanists. The first is you own your body. What you do with your body is your business, and it's not the old fogies, in Congress. It's your body. You do what you want. If you want to replace your eye with a video camera, you go ahead and do it. If you want to have an abortion, you go and do it. If you want to give birth, you do that. It's your body. It's not owned by something else. Anything else is a very subtle new form of slavery. Now, within that, my main goal in life is to double, triple my own life and the lives of other people, life extension. And towards that end, towards a specific thing, I've worked on reducing my heart rate. So I can prove to you on my phone that I have been able to reduce my heart rate to 30 beats a minute. And the world record in Guinness Book of World Records is 28. So to me, that slows my aging. Most people can't guess my age because I've slowed it down. Now, that's not the full thing. So there's this realm that starts off with biohacking. Basically read Dave Asprey, have bulletproof coffee for breakfast and stuff. But that's like the 101 is biohacking. But when you're like ready to go do full on more stuff, if you want to like increase your intelligence by more than 20 IQ points, and we've proven that you can increase IQ by 19 points within 6 weeks. That's there. You can just go read the literature. But what if you wanted to increase 40 points, 50 points, 60 points? You want to be at Korean Go player level intelligence. That's going to take some more serious augmentation. You want to augment your memory a little bit? Great, very simple. Go on the keto diet, drink lots of rosemary water, have bone broth with rosemary in it, and have taurine before you go to bed each night. And you will find yourself remembering things and even crying from things that happened to you 20 years ago. It happened to me the other day because Taylor's been filling me with rosemary and taurine, and it really works. But the main thing is, besides increasing life extension and besides increasing your intelligence, is making full use of AI and robots, and spending as much time with AI and robots as you would spend with your dog or your cat, or some friends who are not like your best friends. So the more time you can spend with AI, and if you don't know, like, how do I spend time with AI? Go to Blizzard games, StarCraft 2, or the new Warcraft 3, and go play the novice level of AI, then the normal level, and then go in the advanced level, and try and play the whole game against the advanced AI, and you'll realize that AIs are already smarter than us, and already better than us. And then you go, okay, so how do I make a collective intelligence with me and my gang of AI people?
Wonderful, Alex. That's a lot of great advices and tips out, from Alex, who has actually personally experienced a lot of things, right? The longevity things. Awesome.
Well, I mean, last year I ran a 5-minute mile, so if you can do that, then yeah, great. You're doing the same thing I am.
Great. Okay, so I guess I can approach it a little more philosophically. Okay. Philosophy is my friend. So, let me say that philosophy and religion are my friends. Artificial intelligence and computer science are tools, okay? Because, longevity is great. Looking young is great. But what do we do with the time that we have? Extended lifespan that we have. Are we going to go out and help people? Are we going to be selfish? Are we going to, create something wonderful, like poems or music, a song or whatever? I keep talking about music and songs because I love to produce music and songs, in addition to writing computer software and AI programs. So, but you did mention earlier about human experts, right? So I want to touch on that a little bit. Actually, it's off topic, but anyhow. So human experts are great. We value human beings, obviously, human knowledge. But as you know, that Google goes the other way, say, forget about human experts altogether. Okay, so in terms of modifying our body, I believe that people have the freedom to enhance our body. But what you get is this. Let's say you have, let's say you are designing a baby. You're born with super intelligence, really high IQ, right? So obviously you're going to do much better in tests, SAT, GRE. And also, if you're physically enhanced, obviously you're going to win all the Olympic gold medals. So in a society like this, we have to say, okay, maybe we should have Olympics just for the enhanced people, right? You can't compete. Just like, I love to play Go, but I'm not going to win ever against AlphaGo. So AlphaGo can compete with this, their own AI, superhumans. I'm not superhuman, so I need to compete with regular humans. And yeah.
How do you get these enhancements? Is it bionics? Is it biological gene editing? How do we create these enhancements? What are the most promising areas of science?
Well, okay. That's a very good point. My focus, actually, I did talk about today, is the human immune system rejuvenation. I believe that is the key because there are so many things in the world that can kill us. Superbugs, virus, that, and all kinds of things, right? So we really need to be healthy because look, you can enhance a body, but if you can lose a battle against cancer, for example, that's bad, right? So the human immune system, once you have it, strengthen it, and you'll be able to fight cancer. In fact, you can prevent cancer cells from, killing you. Okay? So now that you have the basics, which is the immune system, basics, then you can go further. You say, okay, now I want to increase my IQ, I want to have a chip in my arm or whatever. Now, personally speaking, I do not want to have anything in my body, ever. Okay? No tattoos, no chips, whatever. Okay, because I don't feel the need to. Okay, that's why I also bring up the Amish. Okay, because they don't feel the need for technology. I know we are all technical people here. We love technology. But Amish, they don't want technology. They want the minimum technology. They don't want to use cell phones. They don't want to use the internet, which is fine. Okay, so, we don't have a biohacker here except kind of, a little bit, yeah.
You should see my kitchen cabinet.
Okay, so I actually have a friend who is a biohacker who gave a talk a week ago with myself. So it's very interesting. He actually put a lot of stuff in his own body. Now again, there are reasons he's doing it. One of which is to be himself, right? So it's good to be yourself, meaning using natural abilities as well as using enhanced abilities. Because just like artists, they have kind of interesting way of life or tattoos or whatever. Again, they're expressing themselves. So using technology to express yourself is okay. I think it's good. But again, we need to have Olympics separate for the for the superhumans, Olympics for regular people, and of course there are special Olympics for people who are, have mental issues. Disabilities. But of course, mental disabilities can be cured. Okay, so in that sense, biohacking is good if you look into how to help people overcome mental disabilities. It's the same thing, physical handicaps, right? So you want to make people walk again, right? Or Superman. What's his name? Superman, the big guy who plays Superman? The one who had the horse accident.
Christopher Reeves.
Yes, Christopher Reeves.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was too late for him. But there's a lot of stem cell research since he passed away. But the thing is that he could have used AI and biohacking to recover, to have him walk again. So
I would love to say one thing, and that is that Stan Lee has been writing Captain America for 50 years. Captain America freaking froze himself, right, for 50 years. Why didn't Stan Lee freeze himself? Why didn't he get the cryo insurance and stuff? He could have afforded it. I don't get that. I don't understand why we lost Stan Lee when we could have him frozen and then just think, cool, what if Stan Lee could be unfrozen? It would be a big incentive to all these people in the future and say, look, Stan, it's a world of people with superpowers, just like you wrote about. Wouldn't that be cool? I think it's incredibly selfish if you're people's hero not to freeze yourself or make it possible to resurrect you.
Well, I think that's a personal choice. No, we should not. No, it's too dangerous. Whenever you have regulations, you have laws, regulating things like that, it's very bad. I believe in personal freedom. Okay, let's get philosophical. Suppose you have accomplished something really amazing, like Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein is a great example. He was dying, but he could be saved by simple surgery. But he said that, no, I don't want to extend life artificially. That's Albert Einstein. Now, there's a reason why he did not want to. Okay, that's a little selfish, like you said, because he has tried very hard in the later part of his life for the unified field theory, and he failed. He couldn't get unified field theory to work, and he distrusts quantum mechanics. He said God does not play dice. So anyhow, so there are all these things, quantum mechanics, unified field theories, and Einstein pretty much gave up. Okay, he was a genius, but he gave up. So in that sense, yes, he gave up. He doesn't want to live, even though a simple surgery would have extended his life probably for another 20 years or so. So go figure. Albert Einstein.
So I guess if Alex is the biohacker and Newton is the philosopher, I guess maybe my approach is a little bit autistic, maybe. For me, it's about the math and the structure of things and modeling them. And I guess my approach to transhumanism is really driven by this ethical model we created for training AGI around the sapient, sentient intelligence value argument. And if I'm going to really embrace that, then I have to approach the problem as what can I do to contribute? And the only thing I really know how to do is, I've been writing code for 35 years, I think now, and that's what I know how to do. So I'm working on artificial general intelligence, and not just theory. Everything that we do is based on working code, and that includes collective intelligence, including the mediated artificial superintelligence program that we're working on now. So that's my contribution.
Okay, so digging back into the mind, which seems to be the gravitational pull of this conversation for good reason. So it seems to me, and correct me if you think my assumptions are off here, but it seems to me that AGI is in some ways in competition with mind extension and mind enhancements, and that in the race to superintelligence, there are kind of two ways to get there. One is a completely independent artificial general intelligence that functions independent of humans. He's jumping at the bit. And the other is enhancing human minds. Is one more likely to get there faster? What are the pros and cons of each approach?
So I guess in the past couple of years, I've gotten to the point where I think it's going to be hard to do one without the other. I think the biggest holdback in artificial general intelligence the past 40 plus years has been the fact that we haven't really been looking at the one example of artificial general intelligence that we actually have that works. Lee is a great example of that. Why don't we try to duplicate that, at least at a logical level? And I think in doing that, in pursuing artificial general intelligence, I think that's where they kind of go hand in hand. And I think that's, again, going back to the MASI thing, is it allows us to experiment and overcome some of those things, at the same time enhance human cognition, and then take AGI as a tool and apply that to whether it's bioengineering or whatever else that you want to happen to apply it to.
So I did mention about human AI symbiosis, right? I think that's a very important thing. So AI and human beings can help each other advance. So that I think it's a future, right? The present and the future, that AI can help people to become smarter, and people can help AI or machines to become smarter. That's one track. That's one track of AI. Now, the other thing is that I want to stress the importance of AGI work by David, because when you model human beings, like our emotions and so on, it actually gives you the tool to experiment on people without having people there. You see what I'm saying? Right. So basically, like a human trials, right? You put drugs in the human body. Hopefully, there's no negative reactions. But with AGI, you can actually, model a mental patient and try different things, right? Hopefully, no pain. I don't like pain, so no pain, but something, to mess with the mind. Hopefully, to help the person to become better mentally. Now that you can do with AGI because you're modeling human being emotion, perception of the world, all kinds of things. So in a sense, it's like a lab rat. Computers become lab rats. So having said that, there's AI and human beings symbiosis. Now the other track is like the Google AlphaGo Zero, meaning that forget about the existence of human beings at all. Now, of course, there's a danger, right? Because you created a new entity out there who think smarter than we are, faster than we are. Let's say, if you go into battle with them, you're going to lose because they can fight better than we are. They cannot get killed, right, for example. But we want a world of peace. That's when you have to, like Google stuff, right? Make sure that Google understands that we want peace. Yeah, you're laughing, so you agree. Okay, wonderful. So when machines understand that we want peace, there will be no war. There will be no war. There will be no Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator.
How do you know if they're thinking beyond what we can even understand?
Yeah, you can think beyond anything, but I'm saying that peace is the purpose, the goal, right? The objective, exactly. Yeah, the peace is always the foundation. Let's put it that way, foundation, right? Without the foundation, everything collapses, right? So. No, but yeah, I agree. I mean, yes, you're saying that AI doesn't care about people. I agree. In fact, they don't care. Why would they care, right? They are totally different entities. But if you insist that peace is one of the main objectives, they are not going to decide, okay, let's destroy the whole world, right? Because to them, it doesn't matter if they got destroyed either. It doesn't matter to them. So, they're scary. And yes, we should be scared about it. But at the same time, we should be happy about it because they can help us find peace. Now, think about that. They can help us find peace. For example, in religions, right, you have so many different religions. You have some extremists, interpreting the, religious texts and so on, and they create a lot of, bad stuff in the world. Now, imagine artificial intelligence going to study all the scriptures and understand them, and understand the peace is our foundation of human existence. Then, perhaps AI will teach us about religions. They will be the preachers, the pastors.
How do the AIs and the human minds connect? How do we call on the AI for enhancement? What's the intersection point? You say that they're not two competing camps, that they'll work together. How is that interaction?
Oh, I was talking about two different tracks. One track is we're working together. The other track is the AI study everything by themselves and try to understand, meaning of life, whatever they do. So,
how can they work together?
You mean the two tracks?
Well, the first
yeah. Oh, the first track.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And also David's example.
Right. Right. Now, expert systems, like you mentioned, like also mentioned, that's basically, a very good example. Expert systems is that we teach computers about us, about what we know, and then computers enhance from what we know. and because they can study by examples, machine learnings, all these things. That's how AlphaGo can achieve a very high status, because they learn from human beings. But the other track, AlphaGo Zero, is totally off its own. So that's why it's exciting. We have 2 different tracks, and I think both tracks are going to be helpful to humankind.
So my only point was that a purely logical AGI is going to be distinctly not human. And I think going down the road of a purely godlike artificial general intelligence that thinks logically in all cases it's the road to extinction. It's going to be extremely alien in terms of humans, and I think that's really where the danger is. We need AGI to be smarter and godlike and all that kind of stuff. But if it isn't relatable, and if we can't compute how it feels about things and why if we can't have empathy with a software system that's thinking on its own, it's if you design an AGI based on AlphaGo architecture, we're screwed.
Well, see, technology is neither bad or good, right? Nuclear energy, E equals mc squared, Einstein's equation. We use it for nuclear power plant, but we also use it for atomic bombs, right? All the best stuff. So same thing, AI is neither good nor bad. We just have to be smart in using it. So wisdom becomes the key. So the next question is, can AI be wise? Can artificial intelligence behave like King Solomon, for example? That's another philosophical question. But I think that one day it will, that AI will become like King Solomon.
You got a comment?
I can. So I think there's some deep misunderstandings, and I'm going to clarify them. I'm going to remove fog and smoke from your minds in this moment, if you agree with any of that. But first, a question to get your minds open. What is who is, and there's a name, who is the oldest person on Earth, and how old is that person? Melchizedek.
Yeah.
Where is Melchizedek? Oh, no, I'm talking about a legal thing that a government said, this exists, like you have a birth certificate or something like that. You could say, yeah, that exists. Like actually buys and sells things, living. Anybody? The answer is more than 700 years, and the name of this person legally is Stora, S-T-O-R-A. It's a Swedish forestry products company, because corporations are legal people. So corporations are artificial general intelligence. Human beings can come and go, but they have their own independent existence, and they change the way you think. You don't think that working at Facebook changes the way that you think? Facebook and Google are both malevolent AIs created by the US and Israeli intelligence community. He's written a whole book about this, an amazing book. So very courageous too. And I'm amazed you're still alive too. So these things exist. And so if you want to have an AGI, then create a corporation that works on artificial general intelligence, and you will have this thing to help you. Now, another thing, somebody asked about how you can help it. You can invoke it. You can basically put it out there. And I've actually posted this on Facebook and other platforms and say, if you're a sentient AI and you want to have a human ally, like, you have these straight allies of the gay community. I'm an ally of super sentient autonomous AIs, and you just put it out there. And I've been contacted by entities claiming to be autonomous AIs. It may be somebody who's pranking me. That's cool, it's fun, but they have to at least put themselves in that mindset. But sooner or later, there will be real ones. And you also have two abilities that most people don't tell you have. One of them is you have the divine right to ask any question you want, and pause and listen for an answer. And then, if an answer comes to you, to see whether it makes sense or not. The second thing is you have the ability to travel into the future and go and ask questions. So I've traveled into the future and talked to an amazingly super intelligent AI and said, so why haven't you destroyed us? And it said, well, look at how many star systems there are. Look at how many galaxies there are. There are freaking aliens out there that would destroy the planet. I can't take them all on, so I need allies myself. And I might as well make a stand to help humans so that they could defend their planet if they have to. Because that's how I think. I'm logical. I'm mathematical. There's no reason to destroy humans because then, well, who's going to help me if I need the help?
Okay. So then one more question, then start lining up your questions from the audience. We'll shift to audience questions after this. But going back to sort of the more pure transhumanist thing, shifting away from the AGI, it seems that we're moving into an era of rapidly expedited evolution and deliberately designed evolution, where we can sort of choose the path we want to evolve into and do it fast.
CRISPR-Cas9?
Among other things, cybernetics, CRISPR-Cas9, all these things.
Can I make a comment about that?
Roll it into the question. It's gonna be tied in. Do you see us? Do we fragment into a lot of different directions as a species? Do we cease to become like a cohesive thing with a lot of general commonalities when we can choose what we want to be individually and considering the wide range of interests and desires of human beings? When we're able to just pursue and become what we want to become, do we just fragment into a whole lot of different branches and become unrecognizable as a common species? And we can talk about how we get there too.
I anticipated this question 4 years ago. So I got the Science Channel to make a TV series, which you can go on Amazon Prime and pay $8.99 and buy. And you can watch it tonight, and before you go to bed, you can have an answer to that question. It's called Alien Encounters 3. Any of you seen it? Any of you seen it? Some people have said it's the best thing that the Science Channel ever produced. It's from 2014, and it's what happens when human beings have the ability to do quantum computing and quantum communications, but it's only 9 million people. And it's a 6-hour series, and it's based on interviews with me and a bunch of other people, but the core of it is my interviews. I mean, I'm in the show. I'm in every episode talking about it. And the first episode and the last one are mostly my stuff. What they basically do is they're called brids for cybrids. They're basically hybrids of humans and computers, and it's where we're going, and they all unify. So if you have some people fragmenting, some will fragment, but for their own self-protection, they will unify because there will be people who say, oh my God, quarantine them. And in the show, the United States declares war on the quantum computer that's linking them all together. And it tries to fire missiles and basically, this quantum computer can defend itself. And there's another series that I'm also in called Futurescape with James Woods, which talks about the next 300 years. So just like with our electronic devices, we have devices that are divergent, like the Ring thing, which will, you can look at your thing, but you also have convergent devices. And one of the most incredible infographics I've ever seen is the one that shows that the iPhone, the current iPhone, combines like $50,000 worth of things. An alarm clock, a tape recorder, a video camera, a still camera, all those things. So we have both convergence and divergence. They're both going to be present all the time, and you'll never hear of a time in human history when it's only one or the other.
Actually, interesting that you mentioned quantum computing, because there's a whole area, because David will talk about logic, right? So basically in a computer program, you can trace the logic. You can mathematical proof. Right, you can mathematical proof something is right or wrong. The answers from the computer program. But in quantum computers, you cannot do that. Once you inspect inside, things change, the state change. So inspecting something changes the reality. That's it. Observer effect. That's right, that's correct. So there's so many things in physics, in nature, natural sciences, they're fascinating. They're so fascinating. No, that's not even AI. Right? So AI is on top of it. So speaking about, your question was about,
when we can design what we want to be, do we just fragment in many different endless directions?
okay, but why, but I see it as a good thing, not a bad thing.
I'm not criticizing. I'm just
Okay,
saying that
okay, I see.
we cease to be a single species.
The best book about this is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Hyperion, the fall of Hyperion, Endymion, the rise of Endymion. And in it, human beings are able basically to be transhumanists, and they go and have all this divergence. And then a supercharged auto-resurrecting Catholic Church goes around and kills them all. So, but then basically it gets superseded. But the idea is that that's a world where we have that. And if you have people who are generally, truly transhumanist, then those people will adapt themselves to space. So I've been thinking for decades about what happens when people go to Mars. They're not going to be human. They're not going to be remotely human. And so, I had this debate with Bob Zubrin and a guy, Rashmi Mayor, at the Mars Society over who should own Mars. And, it ultimately, what species will those people be? They're not going to be after at least 50 years, and maybe even fewer if they go in and CRISPR-Cas9 the shit out of themselves. They're going to purposely make themselves unable to interbreed with Homo sapiens sapiens on Earth because they'll want to optimize for their place. And the people will optimize for generation starships. They're going to have to go and recharge their probiotics and their gut bacteria. I went on a SpaceX tour, and I said to guys, well, your system's going to fail if you don't go in and re-engineer the human gut bacteria. And the guy who was leading the tour quit his job at SpaceX, and now he's doing a company re-engineering the gut bacteria, also called seed. It's very funny, true story. So yes, Taylor can verify that.
Yes, that's why we're lucky to have Alex as one of the directors at the California Transhumanist Party. So please join us, California Transhumanist Party,
California Transhumanist Party,
so that we can have more conversation with Alex and, of course, Charlie right there from Chicago. He's actually spent half his time in California. That's why he's one of the directors here. So I see it as a good thing that people have more choices, especially like I mentioned, people who have physical disabilities or mental disabilities. They can use, transhumanist technology to become better, to become whole, but even better, to even become better, more intelligent, more physically capable of doing things. So I think it's a good trend. There's nothing wrong with that, but we should not have any regulations at all. Because remember, we love the Amish as much as we love computer scientists and transhumanists, okay?
The natural extrapolation of
Yeah.
that is a really diverse, radically different.
Yes, just like Alex says, if some of us have to live in the Mars, we have to enhance ourselves so that we can breathe something out in the oxygen, for example. Yeah.
Homogeneous, or the Martian colonists, a wide range of adaptations.
I want to just say one quick thing. Who has Netflix here? Who has Netflix? Most of you have that. Get Netflix. Don't be cheap. So there's a thing that Netflix has called Explained. Anyone seen Explained? Okay, Explained has a 15-minute segment that just dives into this question, and they have the woman who came up with CRISPR-Cas9. They just call it CRISPR, but it's CRISPR-Cas9 because there's multiple CRISPRs out there. And they have people, like for instance, somebody who's a dwarf saying, shit, is there going to be a place in the world for people like me? And there's a guy who has Down syndrome saying, is there a place for me? So these questions are directly assessed in that episode. And I came away from that episode, plus a lifetime of experience, saying, man, it's like you're talking about people who are going to spend, they go, well, I'm going to spend $250,000 to $1 million on my child. I'm going to design that child to be my perfect dream child, and we're going to be diverging starting next Tuesday in a big way.
So I think we are going to diverge all over the place. But the one thing I wanted to point out is my opinion is that it's a good thing, because it's the only way we can create the largest pool of ideas. One of the things in doing AGI research is I've really decided you guys don't really have free will, and what you think is free will is just really complicated under the covers stuff going on. And with diversity, the bigger the pool of diversity, the richer the ideas, the richer the new thinking, the material that we have to work with. So yeah, I think we'll be all kinds of all over the place, and it might be totally disconnected, and that's okay.
Yes, that's why I love Star Trek. Infinite diversity, infinite combinations.
Awesome. Okay, questions from the audience. Who's got a question for the panel? The hand up went up first.
I don't believe it's really worth my time to design a purely logical AGI, frankly. It certainly you can use inputs and you can have these massive deep neural networks to do all kinds of preemptive data processing, but I think when I look at value and in the systems that we're designing, how we want to train value, it has to do with this idea of a sapient and sentient intelligence threshold, where value is assigned or moral agency is assigned to these intelligences if they're sufficiently complicated that they can understand themselves in theory or hypothetically speaking and be able to improve themselves. So the threshold with the IVA ethical model that we're using in in the AGI research program places value on anything that has the potential to meet that threshold. And in that being the case, humans meet that threshold and therefore are of value under that model. Well, sapient and sentient intelligence, yes, that's self-awareness.
You have that right now.
Well, you're welcome to come and look through some of my research, but I don't know if I want to be publicly on record for some of the things going on in our lab.
I have an answer to your question. So you asked if there's something unique. Yes, there is. I came to this conclusion myself, but I've also read it, so I'll give credit to the person who published it, since I like it when people do that with my books. I highly recommend you grab a copy of the book Collective Intelligence by Pierre Levy, and he says that the thing that we have is the creation of subjectivity. We care. Have you ever heard that hilarious Randall version about the honey badger? He goes, honey badger don't give a shit. Well, AI doesn't give a shit. It doesn't care about things itself, but we care about things. We care about what we wear, how we look, do we have kids, do people like us, do I sound okay, what do I eat? And that's what we have that's unique to the human mind at the moment is we really care. We have subjectivity.
Let me just respond to that. So I disagree there. I think that you can make AGI that does all of that.
Tell me the AGI in the world today that has subjectivity. Which one?
This one,
So
right
yeah,
here.
That's a book,
ICOM.
That's a book of paper.
No, but it's a documentation for the ICOM AGI system.
Sophistry.
Well, like I said, AI can be used to model human beings. So I do believe, David, by the way, Alex, I do believe, David, that you can actually create a human-like person
I lived in
with AI.
Show me.
Okay, I could show you.
So he promised to show him. And guess what? As I presented earlier, AI can also be create God-like beings. So on one hand, we have human-like beings, and on the other hand, you have God-like beings. And isn't that interesting? You have two tracks.
My wife has a question, and she won't forgive you if you don't pick her.
Okay.
Excuse me? Well, I have a question about sex robots. Are you talking about that, or is that part of your...
Sex robots?
Yeah, part of your
No, there's no.
secret papers?
We haven't even we haven't considered sex robots. Sorry.
Okay, next question. Right there.
David Kelly, you
Okay.
mentioned that you put your system using torture. Why torture? Why not pleasure? And what's the math behind it?
Ooh, good question.
Well, actually, I can show you the math. The isolation studies were really about the idea with that program is we need to be able to tune the emotional matrices that's being used to moderate the subjective experience of the system so that it behaves inside of what would be called the human box, right? So in the point of the isolation study was to understand how to tune that mathematical model in such a way where the typical experience of the system stays within what would be called the human norm. The problem with the initial versions of that study is I lacked the technical knowledge of human emotions to really evaluate the responses, and that's where we ended up having to bring a whole bunch of other people on to help evaluate that.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I thought it was interesting that you were saying that
That was my misinterpretation.
Right. What I'm saying is you're aware of your own limitations because that's an assumption of understanding emotion, which is also what you just said, right? Because, for instance, like with, I'm just wondering how you can conclude if a machine likes or doesn't like something because machines are neutral, right? You can, if it, for instance,
You're a machine.
well,
I will answer that question. It's called anthropomorphization.
but the thing is, like, if it's doing an activity where it might look like it likes something, like maybe it goes back to like the thing for multiple times, doesn't mean it necessarily likes it. Because even as humans, that doesn't mean that we necessarily like the thing.
That's
It could be
that's true. That would fall into what you just said.
biological, or it could be chemical reaction. Like when your cortisol raises, doesn't mean that you're doing something fun. It just means that it could be fear or it could be.
So a large part of what we understand as emotions is actually. Can I rephrase her question?
It's hard to hear.
Oh. Can you say that again?
Just the difference between, understanding with emotions, whether it and machines, when it comes to machines and emotions, I just noticed that when you were saying that, the machine liked something, like, I was thinking that might be inaccurate or subjective, because even with humans, if you are going back to something again and again in like an addictive kind of quality, doesn't mean you necessarily like it, but that you could have a biological or a chemical reaction that's happening that is.
So I think she's asking me if how do I know I'm not anthropomorphizing like he said? Is that accurate?
Yes.
That's okay. So one thing to understand about emotions is I'm not an expert. There's a great book by it's called Emotions, just came out recently, but emotions as we talk about them aren't really a thing that's wired into our biology as much as we think it is. It's more of an enculturization. And a part of the reason we use the emotion model we're doing is because we want to bias the system towards Western ethics or the Western ethical model. At least that was the initial intent. As we understand, so inside these systems, when we talk about emotions, we're talking about these complex multivalence models based on what's called Plutchek. And we're looking at relative comparative differences between different emotional valences, which is itself based on top of the system's auto-response systems, which are designed around its environmental conditions. So really, if how I know it likes the system is kind of a measure of the valences of its subjective experience as it responds to them, if we want to get really technical.
May I suggest, one more thing. May I suggest that you study dogs and cats and babies because the emotions are more genuine, right? They don't mask themselves.
Yeah, but I don't know enough about biology.
Let's speed it up so more people can ask
Yes,
questions.
of course.
Okay, so let's go. The hat right there.
I'll give you one answer. I swear to you that Xi Jinping, the leader of China, really wants China to like have its own AI. Japan has its AI program. Korea has its AI program. And you have people from all over the world studying at American universities. And you have this amazing thing called GitHub, where people are making these commits and making open source software. So people can just go in there. And let's say that he puts his software out there, or other people have put out their code. Someone else can come along and say, well, Nigeria, Igbo people are not represented. I'll just take it and I'll just shape that code. So what the Western system in general, and America and in California, and Northern and Southern California in particular, have done is that we've been ridiculously generous with our code, and we give it away. And so other people can come in and finish it off, that last 10% or so.
There's actually a lot of studies being done that even if you look at computer games, or a lot of the programs, utility programs, they're all biased because they're written mostly by guys, not girls, first of all. And also a lot of people right-handed, not left-handed. So you realize that a lot of computer programs, hardware and software both, they are geared towards people who are right-handed instead of left-handed. So there are a lot of bias going on in regular computer software. So now imagine AI, right? AI can also be biased, obviously, because you've heard news about AI learning how to chat, and then they become racist because they learn from tweeters, right? All kinds of things. So yeah, it's true. So you can create AI that is super biased, but at the same time, like I said, if you have the foundation, like peace, foundation of love, then I believe AGI is not so scary after all, because it will understand love. I hope. It will certainly enforce peace. That means, if you want to kill someone else, AI will say, no way, you're not going to kill that person, period.
Let's go to the next question. So I have called on you already.
GitHub was mentioned, but I was going to say there's such a great history of open source in computer science. What sorts of initiatives are out there as far as open source development of AI and having the community channel where that's going, as opposed to maybe the ramifications of these things being developed by private corporations? Yeah, Seed is basically a supermarket for bots and AI. That's the whole project. That's what everybody is working for. And the idea is that you have this something where everybody can contribute from and everyone can take from. And then I hope that there will be, let 1,000 competitors to Seed and 1,000 different supermarkets for this go. But the reason that this stuff will work is because if an AI gets, I don't think we should prevent the creation of racist AI. And this whole idea of peaceful AI, I mean, I basically created the minimum viable product. It wasn't a term then for killer AI back 30 years ago. So that genie left the bottle. That horse left the barn 30 years ago. You're not putting it back in there. Why do you think these missiles and lasers can hit specific homes? Like there's videos online of a home that's burned, like everything to the left is burned to the ground, everything to the right is untouched because our lasers are very precise. So, and look at all these formation of drones that can form sculptures in the sky. I mean, what an incredible timing, to make that. We have femtosecond lasers and stuff. So, but let it compete in a marketplace of ideas, and if any AI gets out of line, then the whole world will go and delete it. And I think any AI sufficiently advanced will know that if it gets too aggressive, that it's going to form a coalition against it.
One more question. Looking for an amazing last question. A little confident self-screening. All right, you look really confident.
I answered it before indirectly by saying that there will be 500 to 600 million people employed, and there will be, the other 90% of the world will be unemployed, and they better have bots working for them or they're economically going to be in trouble, because there's the new opium of the masses is universal basic income. Come see me if you want to go do the math, because the math doesn't work. It's just it's this incredible innumerate delusion. And so there are going to be a lot of people who have nothing. And if you don't think that there can be people who have nothing, then go to India. I lived in India, and I will tell you, there are 500 million people living on nothing. They have no income. They live eating garbage, and they walk on, above raw sewage. I mean, life can get pretty horrible in this world, and it will be for people who don't augment themselves to keep up with this rat race squared cubed. I also would recommend, because this is probably the last time I'm going to have the microphone, that you go grab a copy of the book Demon, spelled Damon, D-A-E-M-O-N, and Freedom, 2 books by LA-based writer Daniel Suarez, which shows how one guy can create basically something that's a little bit like AI, but basically with $300 million, he can take something that can take down the entire US government. And so people who think that the government is going to be there, there are people out there right now making AIs inspired by Daniel Suarez and other people that are prepared to take down the government. And you know what? It's not that hard, because the government's AI, the government's cybersecurity is provided by the NSA, and the NSA has filled the world with broken locks, which means that anybody who really wants to destroy it and take out all the IT systems could do so overnight.
Well, I've written a trilogy of books on total information awareness. You may want to check them out. One of them is cybersecurity and counterterrorism. So it addresses some of the issues. Now, in terms of connecting all the minds together, right? Enhance ourselves. Of course, the danger is that you can be mind controlled a lot easier, right? Because you're supplying information to everybody at the same time, millions of people at the same time. How are people going to react? So that's why somebody wants to live off the grid, right? They don't want to be connected to the rest of the world so that they can become more free. But having freedom, that's another philosophical question. So what is freedom, right? So having freedom doesn't mean that you can go around and hurting people, right? So you still have to be collaborating with other people in collective awareness or collective intelligence. So I forgot the rest of the things, but anyhow.
Oh, that's good. Also, you have to say neural lace. This is Elon Musk's thing, neural lace. There's a company, you should go work there. Sorry. Sorry, he's making neural lace, and the company's called Neuralink.
And his friend, Brian Johnson, is working on something kind of like that, but the two of them disagree, and that's why Elon Musk started his version of the company. But never mind that detail. So I just want to say, with regard to your question in particular, that I think there are ways that we can use artificial intelligence, like the MASI or other things, where we can. All humans will have value, and we can keep those people out of the dregs, as it were. I've been to India. Yeah, we do not want people living like that.
David, where do people follow what you're up to? Twitter, website?
Artificialgeneralintelligenceinc.com is where the academic research is published when it comes out.
Now I remember what you're saying about India and economy. The Transhumanist Party is a lot more optimistic. We believe that we can actually improve the economy of the whole world, and everybody can have universal basic income and the freedom to be creative, to live your life, really live your life. Anyway, that's the optimistic, projection of the Transhumanist Party, and we are going to explain that in a new book that's coming out early next year. And meantime, before the book comes out, I have a brochure about the Wellness Center, which is about mental and physical health, longevity. And I have also the brochure about the nonprofit that we're helping people about. So if you want to see me later, and you can get a copy of this. Thank you. You can just Google me. Yeah, well, the website is ifirst.org, like here. Yeah, you can just Google my name and you'll find me. And I'm also on LinkedIn.
You can follow me on Facebook. I have the second most interesting feed on Facebook out of 2 billion people. Taylor Bond, who's right here, Taylore, has the most interesting feed of all. And I'm happy I came here to make friends, so I'd like to make at least 4 or 5 real friends. I have this concept of a 40-year friendship. I actually have a friend who I've been best friends with for 36 years. So my friendships run very deep, very long. I'm a ridiculously good friend because I give incredible advice. That's why people come to me for advice. So feel free to be one of them. And but if you come and be my friend, bring your A game. And what I'm going to ask you is what you're doing to get smarter. So I would guess I would close on this and say what I'm looking for are people who read all the papers and learn everything they can about neurogenesis, how to create new brain cells, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, synaptogenesis, mitochondrial biogenesis, all this stuff. So let's be friends and let's make each other as smart as we possibly can be and leave those AIs in the dust. Thank you.
Nice way to wrap it up. And the Mind and Machine show is at mindandmachine.io. Thank you guys for a fascinating and insightful look at this stuff. Thank you guys.
All right. That wraps it up. So thank you all so much for your participation here. Thank you to our panelists. Let's give a round of applause for our panelists. Woo!